Hello everyone, and welcome back to this week's show. This is High Strangeness in the Liminal Abyss podcast, and I am your host, SHETAN NOIR. And yes, here in America, it is the day before Thanksgiving, the day that everybody feasts on food like turkey and mashed potatoes and gravy and stuffing and macaroni and cheese and sweet potatoes or yams or acorn squash. I usually make acorn squash. All those good things. But today's show is about, well, not turkeys, because the topic of today's show, terror birds, dwarf today's turkeys. Now, here in Michigan, we do have quite a large population of wild turkeys. And where I live at, it's not uncommon to see them running in fields, chasing people through their yards, chasing themselves around a tree. Usually there's like 10 of them running around a tree, chasing each other. But those are the common everyday turkeys that you will have on your Thanksgiving table tomorrow. But the birds that I'm talking about, we're going to talk about two specific individuals or species, one from South America and one here in the United States. Now, terror birds are gigantic. The smallest of them is around 3 feet tall, and the largest, the tallest, is about 10 feet. The 10-footers weigh about 400 pounds. And that species is Calenken Guillermo from South America. Now, in South America, they were the apex predators. Imagine a 10-foot tall, long-legged, huge beaked bird, like a flamingo on steroids, but without the long neck. That type of beak, which on Calenken was the size of a horse's head. And imagine this beak, this huge beak with a very curved, pointed tip. When they were hunting down their prey, especially if it was large prey, they would run alongside their prey and they would use that beak like an axe. So imagine this very long, very sharp, and very strong beak being smashed down into your soft tissue. And this very large, very fast bird, I don't think too many people would have outran them. And just about everything in South America was on its menu. Now, eventually, there was a land bridge that formed in between North America and South America. And this provided a route northwards and southwards for an intercoast or intercontinental species exchange, which happened over thousands of years. But eventually, a variant, a species of terror bird, began making its home here in the United States. Now, this terror bird is a little bit smaller than Calenke, but its name is Titanus, and it still had the same hunting technique. Used that huge beak as a axe to slam down into its prey, and then after it had killed its prey, it would grab chunks of flesh and tear them off. So modern day raptors like eagles, hawks, vultures, condors all have this same hooked beak, and that's how they eat. They don't use their claws to tear into the flesh and rip it up. They use that beak, and they will grab little pieces of it, like this, and yank it free. And it's a small, pinch of food each time. But with the South American species, Kalenke, when you're the apex predator, nothing but another Kalenke is going to challenge you for that food. But that changes when they come into North America, because Titanus now has to compete with other apex predators, such as dire wolves, Smilodon cats. These are all, apex predators of their times. The short-faced bear, any other predatory animals that want a meal and hunt in a pack type formation. These were all challengers to Titanus's kills. So these birds had to be very intelligent, very fast-witted, and very quick. And science has proven that they had superior hearing, very large, very well-developed ears, so they could hear their prey. They also had very good sight, which most birds of prey do have excellent sight. They also had one of the biggest brains for birds. And being as big as they were, this was a asset to them, because they could detect where their prey was going to be. They could figure out hunting strategies for it, different types of prey, different problem solved ways to hunt it, kill it, eat their meal, but also an intelligence to be aware that there's other predators that likely will, challenge it for that food source, and the ability to decide, do I stand and fight to protect my kill and eat it for, myself, or if it's a pack of animals, do I run off and let them, eat away the skin, the hair, whatever, and whatever's left, I go in and pick off the bones. We do know that they were very capable of hunting, but they could also very well scavenge, which anybody who's driven down the road and you see vultures or any type of large raptor type birds eating roadkill, they're scavengers. That is, one of their ways of surviving is to scavenge food. So any, in modern day, any deer that get hit by a car, any fish scraps that are left over, in Alaska, the bald eagles just wait for the fishermen to throw out scraps and, feast on them. So these terror birds were not only gigantic, 10 foot tall. That's, average human being 5'8" to 6'2" for an adult, and usually under 180 pounds. So we're talking about a bird that is twice your size twice your weight, and instead of you having it for Thanksgiving dinner, it might just have you for its dinner. But luckily, science says that these birds went extinct thousands of years ago, about 18 to 20,000 years ago. But there are reports of these birds being seen in the desert type environments and, areas of the southwestern United States. People have reported what they claim to be really weird looking ostriches or emus, or it was an upright running bird, but it looked really weird, like it was mutated. Well, not if it was a terror bird. Not if it was one of these species, Titanus or Calunque, or maybe a new developed species that has found a way to survive without interacting with human beings. And people will say, well, how is that possible? Certainly we know everything that's on the earth today. Well, not necessarily, because known animals like moose, I always go to moose because your chances of seeing moose in the wild, pretty much 0 to none. Now, deer, we see deer all the time. Wild turkeys, see those all the time. Black bear, if I want to see black bear, I know where to go. Coyotes, foxes, see them all the time. But a moose, very rarely do people ever see a moose unless you're deep in the woods and the moose doesn't know you're there. Same thing for, hunting season. We see deer all the time eating in the fields or trying to cross the road. But ask hunters how many times they go out, get into their gear stand, and they sit quietly for hours on end and never see a deer. Known animal, but the instant you want to find it, it disappears. So is it possible that there are still terror birds running around the southwestern United States or South America? Because they are finding new species every year that we had no record of in the fossil record, or science decided that they were extinct only for citizen scientists to prove otherwise with evidence that they have collected and been able to show the media, social media, and the scientific world. So, is there a possibility that the giant turkeys of the past are still roaming the wilds of the world? I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. Certainly, I would not want to meet a Calunque or a Titanus unless I had something. Well, no, I wouldn't want to because I can't run that fast. So unless I was in my truck, then maybe, viewing them from a distance with my camera that can zoom in to the moon, maybe then. But for right now, no, I wouldn't want to meet them. But what are your thoughts? I'll leave you guys with that. Happy Thanksgiving. And until next week, stay curious out there and explore your world.